Welcome back to the Calgary Guide Video Series. Today we're talking about atrial fibrillation and its clinical findings. Atrial fibrillation is essentially disorganized atrial depolarizations that do not lead to effective atrial contraction. Note that most patients with atrial fibrillation are actually asymptomatic. They don't manifest clinical findings externally. However, for patients that do manifest symptoms, here they are. On history. First of all, the abnormal electrical signals in the fibrillating atria can propagate to the ventricles before the ventricles have fully recovered from their previous contraction. So that means the ventricular contraction this time will be weaker, reducing the amount of blood ejected, reducing the ejection fraction. Having more residual blood in the ventricles as diastole starts increases the end diastolic volume prior to the next ventricular contraction. That leads to more forceful contractions of the sometimes overfilled ventricles, which can be felt against the chest wall as palpitations. Palpitations can also arise by another mechanism. If the heart rate is increased, there is reduced time to clear calcium ions from the myocyte cytosol between contractions. An increase in cytosolic calcium concentrations prior to subsequent myocyte contractions actually increases the force of myocyte contraction. This also leads to more forceful contractions of the ventricles, which are felt against the chest wall as palpitations. On a different note, if heart rate is increased, that reduces the diastolic ventricular filling time, the amount of time that the ventricles have to fill when they're relaxed. This reduces the preload, which reduces cardiac output. Reduced cardiac output will reduce perfusion of the brain and other body tissues, leading to fatigue, presyncope or syncope, and consequently, the hypoxia felt by the brain causes respiratory centers in the brain to compensate by increasing the rate of breathing, leading to dyspnea, or the sensation of shortness of breath. On physical examination, disorganized atrial electrical circuits will lead to an irregular, often faster relay of electrical impulses through the AV node and down the Purkinje fibers of the ventricles. This will lead to irregular, often faster stimulation of ventricular contractions, which in turn leads to an irregular pulse, often, but not always, with an increased heart rate. Uncoordinated, irregular atrial contractions also mean there is no discrete atrial kick at the end of the ventricular diastole. Thus, there are no A waves seen in the JVP. For more on what the JVP means, see the Calgary Guide slide or video on the jugular venous pulse. Now, even with non-compliant ventricles, atrial systole ejects minimal blood into the ventricle with each contraction. Thus, there is no fourth heart sound on auscultation, even with a non-compliant ventricle. Remember, the fourth heart sound is a sound created by the atrial contraction, forcing blood into the ventricles, often heard right before the first heart sound. An uncoordinated, irregular atrial contraction also means that after an abnormal atrial contraction, the leaflets of the atrioventricular valves can range from fully open to almost closed. Subsequent ventricular contractions force the AV valve leaflets to shut at varying velocities, producing varying levels of sound. And because the shutting of the AV valves is what leads to the first heart sound, the S1, this means that in atrial fibrillation, there will be variable S1 loudness. Finally, on physical examination, atrial fibrillation is generally associated with dilation of the atria, which in turn is correlated with a dilation of the connective tissue surrounding the AV valve. This stretches the atrioventricular valves, and as a result, the mitral and tricuspid valve leaflets do not properly close. Blood thus will regurgitate through the atrioventricular valves during ventricular contraction. The regurgitation of the blood results in a blowing, hollow systolic murmur. Regurgitation through the tricuspid valve is best heard at the left lower sternal border, and regurgitation of the mitral valve is best heard at the apex of the precordium. And that's it for the clinical findings of atrial fibrillation. If you learned something new from this slide, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share it with other medical students and healthcare learners who have an interest in learning more about atrial fibrillation. Thanks, and see you in the next Calgary Guide to Understanding Disease video.